Hello, I'm Nabe Watanabe. I'm a Senior Fellow of Sasakawa Peace Foundation. And it's a great privilege to have a former Foreign Minister of Indonesia, Dr. Hassan Wirajuda, here. And actually, we had a very good discussion yesterday and the day before yesterday. We talked about many things. And today, I'd like to discuss about, of course, Japan's diplomacy, ASEAN's diplomacy, as well as Indonesian diplomacy, and the regional order, too. So I'd like you to introduce briefly about yourself. So, Dr. Wirajuda, please.
I'm Hassan Wirajuda, former Minister of Foreign Affairs of Indonesia. I was the Foreign Minister of Indonesia under two different administrations, President Megawati and President Yudhoyono, in total for 9 years. I'm pleased to join our discussion here in Tokyo, organized by the Sasakawa Peace Forum. And I benefit a lot. And I hope also I contribute to enrich our discussion yesterday.
Thank you very much. And I introduce myself briefly. I'm a senior fellow at the Sasakawa Peace Foundation. But before that, actually, I spent several fellowship research work in Japan's think tank and the U.S. think tank. And in the U.S. think tank, I worked in the Center for Strategic and International Studies in Washington, D.C.
CSIS.
CSIS. And also, actually, you served for the President Yudhoyono of the Indonesia, and I had a privilege to talk with him when we actually organizing some Asian Value Conference in Tokyo, and we invited him, and he kindly accepted. Anyway, so Indonesia is a very, very important country to Japan, but the one thing is it's a very important democracy in Asia, East Asia. So I think that's very important things that we shared valued. So first question, actually, I'm very curious to how you see the trend of democracy in the region, East Asia and in the world. I'm asking because now U.S. democracy is somehow in doubt, and several the non-government organizations ranked U.S. democracy is very lower than before. Anyway, I'm very curious how you see the trend of democracy.
Well, it's unfortunate that in the West, in particular in the United States and Europe, democracy is declining. In Europe, it was primarily because of the problem, what they called nationalisms and populism. In the US, we know that especially during this current administration, democracy is no longer on the vocabulary of the existing administrations. And as a result, discussions on democracy all over the world is also in decline, to my regret. Here in Asia, I believe Japan is the oldest democracy and continuously enjoy not only peace and security, but democratic systems remain intact, I would say. In Indonesia, we are in a relatively short period of time, after 30 years of military-dominated government, we were able to transform Indonesia in a relatively short period of time to be a full-fledged democracy. That's why reform, as a product of reform, initiated in 1999 following the East Asian monetary crisis that we suffered. So our democracy was very vibrant. We have, since 1999, direct elections of our local government's head, governor and district heads. But likewise, since 2004, for the first time and continued until today, direct election of president and vice president. Mm-hmm. So in a relatively short period of time, democracy has taken its root. Mm-hmm. And we have a solid basis mm-hmm. because our people, more than 80% believe in democracy. Mm-hmm. But of course, like what's happening in the world, in Indonesia too, democracy is no longer widely discussed. Mm-hmm. Well, we practice like mm-hmm. elections, mm-hmm. regular elections, and in general also the quality of our election is generally good, though money politics is now an issue. Mm-hmm. And at the regional and international level, I initiated the Bali Democracy Forum, mm-hmm. and in 2008, mm-hmm. and unfortunately during the time of President Joko Widodo, mm-hmm. We hosted the Bali Democracy Forum, but on the part of our governments, I would say they are not enthusiastically support that mm-hmm. process. Mm-hmm. I initiated in the same year, 2008, what I call Bali Institute of Peace and Democracy, mm-hmm. where we organize programs, both thematic and country-specific, on how we could share our experience and best practice with countries aspire to be a democracy, like a program with Egypt, with Tunisia in the wake of Arab Spring, mm-hmm. but with Myanmar, with Fiji even. Mm-hmm. And I found that's quite a good and positive response for many countries which aspire to be democracy. Mm-hmm. Now part of the general climates right. In the world, in the regions, mm-hmm. unfortunately, mm-hmm. this rather a temporary mm-hmm. rest, I would say, but I hope that mm-hmm. in the near future we should be able to recover. Mm-hmm. And I believe Indonesia and Japan can do much to revive right. the waves of democracies mm-hmm. in Asia in particular.
Right, right. Thank you very much. That point, actually, Japan and Indonesia share the very important history. That we both had a military regime, military control government, and somehow we experienced how to get over such kind of undemocratic regime. So I think in that sense, Asia has a lot of history and values that we can somehow share with Western world too.
That's right.
Right. So that's very, I think, encouraging to me. And going to the diplomacy, I think I'm impressed your experience in the several the conflict resolution in the region, and also your, of course, the leadership in the value and democracy too. So current in our region. That's, I would say, some people say Indo-Pacific or East Asia. Somehow the competition between China and the United States is one issue. And the other one is, of course, the U.S. is losing some attractiveness or losing power, I would say, in the region. Anyway, Japan and Indonesia and other ASEAN countries always are surviving in how to somehow influence over the two major powers in the region too. The difference is Japan is a allied partner with the United States. Indonesia is more independent. So I would like to learn a lot from your thought of how to survive in the current East Asia.
We may learn from the past history. Mm-hmm. Since 1948 until, say, 1989, the whole world witnessed the most serious Cold War that not only involved the United States and the Soviet Union, but also involved quite divergent ideologies, liberal and free market economy on the one hand, and centrally planned economy and socialists and communists. In addition, each bloc has each military pack, NATO on the part of the United States and its allies in Europe, and Moscow and its countries, its Eastern European countries have the Warsaw Pact. Now, actually, we are in much better shape because the tension is practically between the United States and China. The ideology was not so much, though China might claim that they are socialist economy, but in practice, China also adopt a free market, free trade.
Yes.
And there's no military blocs opposed to each other, either those part of the United States or China. That's why learning from the past, if we, Indonesia, Japan, and many other countries survive during the 40 years of Cold War, we are not currently having a Cold War as we experienced in the past. That's from the more positive side, optimistic side of the current tensions that we are witnessing happening between the United States and China. Of course, during the first Trump administration, they labeled it as trade war. But to me, it's not only a question of trade. Actually, competition between the United States and China involved military, technology, even outer space. And that's why perhaps on trade, it could be settled much easier, but other issues of differences like technology, competition technology, military, as well as outer space is in total more difficult to see. But to me, unlike the old Cold War, I think the degree and intensity somewhat much less. So that's how I see it. And of course, the tensions between these two superpowers can have potential negative consequences, including war, because in particular in our area in Asia, we have several areas of potential conflict: South China Sea, Northeast China Sea, then Taiwan Straits, and North Korea nuclear issue. I think the challenge for all of us countries in the regions is how to reduce tensions, to, if not to solve those problems, but at least this continuing dialogue, but also between the two superpowers themselves, the United States and China. As I mentioned yesterday in our discussions, that there must be dialogue and direct communications. And because otherwise, the area of potential conflicts could develop into an open conflict. That's devastating, not only to our region, but also to the rest of the world. I think countries in the region themselves, mid-power or whatever you define it, could play a role to bridge the gap, to bridge the misunderstanding. After all, some countries in the regions are both friends to the United States, friends to the United States, to China, and we should not just sit quiet. Should be more active efforts to play our role, not as mediator, but at least to promote dialogue between the two conflicting parties with a view to, in the beginning, reduce the tension. Number two, for the two countries to realize the need to have peaceful coexistence. And in the end, of course, to resolve the conflict, whatever they have. So an active role is expected.
Thank you. Yeah, I am impressed. Active role. That's probably Japan, Indonesia, or other Asian countries, leading it to try to shape relation between big two superpower, China and the United States. And that's probably remind me of another side of worry of Japan. We are worried about U.S.-China competition and conflict, but at the same time, we are also worried about rapprochement of U.S. and China. Especially recently, President Trump mentioned the G2, U.S.-China G2, means two countries is governing a region, and somehow China's intention may be, okay, let's share the Pacific, and the western part is for China, and the eastern part is for U.S., this kind of things. So are you worried about such kind of U.S.-China G2 rapprochement?
Rapprochement is good. Rather than
good, not worry.
Not worry. We should not worry. Because rapprochement may lead to acceptance by both countries, whatever differences they have in many different areas, but they, in the end, should realize that they should coexist, accept peaceful coexistence. Interestingly, unlike during the Cold War, we had two superpowers, the United States and the Soviet Union. Of course, unlike today, perhaps in those days, between leaders of the United States and Soviet Union didn't talk with each other. Here there is potential for leaders of the United States and China to talk, as have witnessed on the margin of many meetings, in particular when ASEAN hosted summit, or Indonesia hosted the G20, President of the United States and President of Russia or China met. So, in other words, the role of countries in the regions, Japan, Indonesia, ASEAN, could provide a venue as in line with our role to be a good convener. When leaders of those opposing countries may find it comfortable to sit, to talk within the ambience of regional cooperations. I think despite their differences, there is a signs by both President of the United States and President of China to meet, to begin to talk. That's a positive sign. We should not worry too much because after all, this is not the world where we have two superpowers. It's not only bipolar, it's but multipolar politics. How can they say, if we can say, talk only both of them and divide whatever we have in the region among the two of themselves? We know we have Russia as well to balance.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's impressive. The reason is I joined the discussion yesterday with you and other senior Asian leaders, and I was pretty much impressed that all of participants are not so worried about U.S. or not so worried about U.S.-China G2 for whatever. And I was asking to me why compared to Japanese. Probably...
Actually, you should do better because Japan is clearly a treaty ally of the United States.
Right. Yeah, that's it. So probably Japan is psychologically too much dependent on the U.S. That's too much worry about the U.S. May have a rapprochement with China. Of course, as you suggested, good relation between China and the U.S. is a good thing to Japan too, right?
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So that's probably Japan really needed to change our own mind setting. And actually, I'm proposing, not only me, but our project is proposing Japan's new diplomacy that we call the Plan A+. Plan A is the past Japan's diplomacy rely on the U.S.-Japan alliance, and that's a very centerpiece for the Japan's diplomacy and the security policy. And that's plan A. So if we are losing alliance with the United States, too much worry. And, and considering plan B or plan C, and actually, we try to consider plan B, that without alliance with the United States, and try to create a mid-term, mid-power diplomacy, like recently Canadian Prime Minister Carney proposed. But probably that's not enough to secure our own country. And plan C is more closer to China, and try to put Japan to the quasi-alliance or whatever. That's also very, very instability brings. The reason is that, U.S. is worried too much. But anyway, so our conclusion is that plan A plus, U.S.-Japan alliance remain. We still utilize this, but less reliance on this and do more. Japan's own defense capability and mid-power the diplomacy, that's including ASEAN too. I think we leading it a closer cooperation with South Korea and Australia and ASEAN countries and also European. So that's idea is probably the future. And of course, we need to less dependent on the Chinese economy, but we keep the good economic relation with China. So that's our proposal, and I'd like to hear your impression of this description.
Understood with this A plus plan, Japan, in your view, would be heading toward Japan has a strategic autonomy. Of course, Japan continue to maintain its close relationship with the United States, but at the same time, understanding that Japan, at least since the recent years, you cannot rely fully, like the European countries cannot rely fully on United States support. But I think it's also good. For example, I understand that when President Trump tell the European allies to spend more budget for military and not to depend on the United States, in a way, for so long since the end of the Second World War, Europeans enjoying that they spend only 2% of their budget for military. That's why they progress more economically at the burden of the United States. To me, it's reasonable. For so long, the Europeans enjoy themselves at the expenses of the United States. So, but also natural that Europeans, in this case also Japan, that for your own use, spend a reasonable percentage of your budget for protection of your country. But still maintaining a degree of close relationship with the United States, as Japan and Europeans are close ally of the United States. So, but this is the reading of the world and the regional situation, in particular in Asia, only from the security perspectives. What is missing, in my view, reading your paper, Plan A+, is that on diplomatic side, on the diplomatic process of shaping the norms of cooperation in the neighborhood of East Asia, I think it should be done at least in balance with your security concern. I mentioned yesterday on the need for us to make progress on our commitment in 2004 to establish an East Asia Summit. Unfortunately, after 20 years, not much progress was made. From my perspective on ASEAN, because ASEAN is sitting in the driving seat, we have not developed that policy quite adequately. Number one on the agenda of the East Asian Summit, it was so much on economic cooperations, but less on political and security. While the foundation, the framework of cooperation on political and security are there already. Like the ultimate goal to establish an East Asia community. This to me is even more important today because we cannot rely on the world order. World order is continually weakening and it's no longer effective. That's why each region should manage their own household, be they on promoting peace and security and also prosperity. Look at in Europe, for so long we have through European Community and European Union. They manage quite well, manage their region quite well.
Sure.
Why should not us? And after all, we have already a mechanism in place, ASEAN, for 57 years, enjoy relative peace and security. The United Nations spend no single dollar to help create the Southeast Asia regions that is peaceful. It is the works of our own. And that's why, in my view, when the global cooperations, global order is weakening and no longer effective, under Article 52 of the United Nations Charter, we should make our own arrangement, working together to create our own regions more peaceful, secure, and prosperous. Not to, because we have already mechanism in place. We not start from zero. And I would say on prosperity, we have quite a mechanism. ASEAN-Japan Free Trade Agreement, ASEAN-China, ASEAN-India, ASEAN-Australia, and New Zealand. We have ASEAN Regional Forum. It's the sole forum for peace or security dialogue in the regions. What we need is to strengthen this process. It's an urgent need now because at the global level we see we cannot rely on the global order. Rule-based order somewhat has been sidelined by great powers. So we have to manage our own.
Thank you very much. Your suggestion for the creating an East Asian Summit, the East Asian community, is really the very good timing for this. As you mentioned, the European community and NATO, both actually the product of World War II. Clearly that they mean that, Germany, France fought a serious war twice, and somehow they realized that they really needed to the economic cooperation to survive, right? I think same thing you mentioned, now global world order is a weakening, so we really need the regional order to maintain our own, the prosperity and the security too. So I think East Asian community would be the both, like security and diplomacy, and also economy, trade too. I think, and as you said, already we had some framework too. So and the leadership to bring them to, and also opportunity, right? Unfortunately, that as countries in Northeast Asia, China, Japan, and Korea, South Korea, you have traded with each other, you invest with each other, but on matter of political and security, there's still big gap. And there in Southeast Asia, we appreciate actually when those three countries started in 2024, began their summit. Began with Foreign Minister Summit over three countries and summit of President and Prime Ministers. But it hasn't in the past 20 years reached quite a degree. We actually applauded
that here a good step, good progress would be made. And therefore, when we talk about East Asia, in Southeast Asia, we have quite a degree of dialogue.
All right. Yep.
Then we expect that how you countries in Northeast Asia speed up the process among yourselves. So in the end, these two pillars, Northeast Asia and South Asia would be an important component, important pillars of East Asia community.
I think the one thing I'd like to add is Japan, China, South Korea is all somehow the declining economy because of a declining population. So that's not so good things for each country, but good things to the cooperate each other. So if China is a very, very rising power, I don't think China has some intention to more cooperation with other country at the level playing field. But from now on, probably China may have a more incentive. And South Korea, Japan has already in mood to we need to cooperate.
Actually, look at from the positive side. I know Japanese populations is declining. You have problem of aging. But don't forget, in your neighborhood, in your region, we have surplus of population.
Definitely.
You can complement with each other.
Yeah, that's actually I wanted to say. So ASEAN countries are younger countries than us too, and also whole East Asian region still the growing, of course.
Exactly.
Right?
Exactly.
So the issue is more some closer communication, closer diplomacy, closer economy, right? Yeah, that's probably the very important for us. So based on this kind of whole idea, actually I fully agree with your idea. So what is your recommendation for the Japan should work with ASEAN and the other country together for such kind of direction? Please, any good advice to me?
We have in Southeast Asia, in ASEAN, agreements that we reached in 2009. We call ASEAN economic blueprints, including ASEAN. Part of the ASEAN Economic Community, which we agreed, 10 countries in Southeast Asia agreed to allow free flow of goods, services, capital, and skilled workers. Singapore badly needs skilled workers, even Malaysia, Thailand as well. So we train our people to work in Singapore, more than 100,000 of Indonesian works in Singapore. Many of our engineers, accountant, not medical doctor, but quite professionals, workers from Indonesia working in Singapore. Likewise in Malaysia. So, of course, with this we simplify the process, permit and visa and simply that kind of practice could be expanded. Even Australia, at one time I visited Australia, they told us they have shortage of electricians. And they asked, is it possible for Indonesia to send electricians and without a complicated visa, because every 3 months they can go back within 3 hours flight to Bali and then return. And that kind of arrangement that you can make, if we have, as you said, good communications, good arrangement to make, and to overcome the problems that you are facing, also South Korea, because of the population's problems you have in view of aging.
Yeah, I think I happened to talk with a young diplomat from South Korea this morning. And she's very much interested in how Japan is thinking about diplomacy and cooperation with South Korea too. I think nowadays, thanks to China and the US, now the South Korea and Japan both are really moved for we need to cooperate seriously. But that's clearly could say South Korea, Japan really need to cooperate with ASEAN. That's definitely the timing too. And I'm sure that China really need to cooperate too.
Yeah. Yeah,
so
they're quite open to tell us.
Yeah, and eventually U.S. may come back. May come back means the U.S. the history looking back, they are pretty much interested in trade and economic relation with East Asia, right?
Yeah, that's true.
Right. So that gives a lot of hope actually, and also somehow the very positive, optimistic one. I really appreciate it. You and your colleague from a senior Asian leader really gave us to some optimistic and productive.
Don't preoccupy yourself with security.
Right.
Security is one problem. Yes, but it could be addressed in totality with diplomacy, cooperations, economic cooperations. Then, if you focus on whether you survive because of the change of the world environment, for that matter, concern of security, yes, it would limit your perspectives.
Yeah, that's great. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Watanabe-san.
Yeah, thank you very much.